Hey there, it's Jim and Debbie with another episode of the Midday Minute. Debbie, it's episode 47, and what a difference a year makes.
Indeed.
Remember last year we gave our middies on the fledgling Midday Minute. We gave our middies a sneak peek at our choir practice. The ENF carolers were singing in the rotunda. Put a link to that episode right up here if you'd like to watch. This year, the rotunda is silent. There is no caroling this year.
There's no caroling. I was thinking as I was driving into the office today, I would try to find a location in the building that had the tree or some decorations. And I was like,
Yeah, you're in the old set though. It's nice to see the old set. We haven't been there in a while.
okay, exactly. We're both in the office.
Yeah. The kind of the motto for current times, we're together apart, right?
Right.
Um, well, anyway, if ever there were a year that inspired looking forward instead of back, this year is it. But on today's episode, we're going to look back at a few things from 2020 that did not suck. But first,
Quite a few things.
yes, right. We'll get to that. But first, we have a contest winner to announce.
We do. This episode, we are announcing Joyce Powell as the comment contest winner. So congratulations to Joyce.
Joyce, we on our last episode, we had Rick Gathan out, and he drummed up a lot of interest in New Jersey. Joyce is from New Jersey. I actually met her when I was at the Peer Leadership Conference in 2015.
Oh.
I've talked about that before, I think, on this show, and I know on the podcast. But she was there volunteering for that really outstanding program that the New Jersey Elks offers. And she was doing all the social media. So she was taking photos and doing videos and cranking all of that out there. It was, she was quite a worker.
That's awesome. Well,
Joyce, we're going to need you to tell us, congratulations. And you're going to need you to tell us in the comments below or by emailing enf@elks.org how you would like us to apply your $50 soft credit. Which ENF funded program would you like to support with that soft credit? Now, those of you watching today will have an opportunity to win another $50 soft credit simply by commenting below on anything that strikes your fancy. Maybe your favorite, why don't you tell us your favorite holiday gift, your favorite Christmas gift that you've received with the hashtag ENF Midday. All right?
Do it.
Okay. So 2020, and you were just saying the other day, you're just talking about this the other day, Debbie, a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago, every marketing person in the world looked at the calendar and saw 2020 and thought, oh, we can do something with 2020 vision, right?
Right. Huge.
Nobody saw what was coming.
That's right.
Right.
Right. Yeah. It's not living up to its name.
Yeah, it's, I'm going to be happy to turn the calendar in just a couple of weeks. I'm sure our viewers will be as well. But as we said at the top of the show, we kind of want to look back at some of the things that, some of the bright spots from a very difficult year. And one, I think, is that the pandemic and the need to isolate in the early days really forced us to find new ways to connect.
Right.
This show, we really ramped up in March, started cranking out weekly episodes for a while, and Zoom became just a wonderful way for us to connect with one another in our personal lives, but also on a work basis to share information with you, our viewers. Hopefully we've informed you and we've tried to entertain you as well. And hopefully we've been able to do that a little bit. Speaking of new ways to connect, I'd also like to talk about the blog series that I started writing in March on on the Elks National Foundation blog, link up here. It's kind of like a throwback to my days at the Elks magazine, and before that I was a local reporter. And to be clear, I'm not saying my blog posts were a bright spot. I'm saying what I'm writing about was a bright spot. And what I was writing about were local lodges that were finding ways to remain relevant while staying safe in the early days of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd just like to mention 4 of those lodges in particular. I wrote a post called What is Zoom? And that was about Fremont, California Lodge. A member there confided in one of the movers and shakers of that lodge, Steve Coulthard. And just told Steve that he was feeling blue. He was, he was down. He was missing the social interaction that he found at the Elks Lodge. He craved that interaction. He was all alone at home. And Steve started thinking, if this guy's feeling that way, probably other people are too. And then he decided to start a Zoom trivia night. And it gave people, it was a weekly event, and it gave people something to do in the early days of the isolation. And it was just a new way for people to connect. See you at the Jewel Buking. I think I pronounced that correctly. About Ben Braden at Ballard, Washington Lodge, who sort of put a sleepy committee to work on an ambitious plan to contact every member of that lodge. And Ballard is one of our largest lodges. They wanted to contact every single member by phone or email and see if they needed anything during the pandemic. And that also led to sort of an offshoot project, which is members started making homemade masks, because there was a real mask shortage, remember,
Right.
in the early days. So they were making masks and distributing those to people who needed them. Another post was Hold My Beer. And this was about Charlevoix, Michigan Lodge. The lodge was closed, but they had bills to pay. They had just acquired a new building. And so Rochelle Rohrig and some others, they went to work, right? They had a Queen of Heart raffle that was bringing in lots of revenue. And they thought, well, we can't do this in person. We got to find new ways to sell raffle tickets. And they did. They started a takeout burger service at the lodge. So they had people volunteering to cook burgers, and then, we're selling them to, members coming up and buying takeout. And then they also were serving their community through these things called blessing boxes, where they were encouraging members who could provide supplies of these boxes, and other people in the community could come and take things that they needed from these boxes. And then finally, Are We Having Fun Yet?, which is about Ferndale, Michigan Lodge. And Ferndale is a diverse community, and the lodge has embraced that diversity. And love is love, but isolation doesn't have to be isolation. It doesn't have to be boring. Kate Reynolds started virtual happy hours every night at that lodge to give people a way to connect and have fun together. And at one of those happy hours, Kate and Sarah Ignash and another member got the idea for the T-Rex Walking Club, which has garnered international acclaim for the lodge. I mean, truly stories all over the world about this lodge that was walking around their community in these big inflatable dinosaur and hippos and unicorns, all sorts of crazy costumes, which were made for this pandemic, because you're essentially masked and you have to be 6 feet apart, right? And they were getting together, they were having fun, and they were spreading joy just by being silly.
Yeah, I mean, those pictures are so amazing. Just, makes me smile just thinking about them. But they were the pioneers, right? Like that was they adapted so fast. Like we were still figuring out what Zoom was, right? And they took it and they led the charge. And now so many people in lodges are doing those exact same things to connect.
Right. And when I was at the Elks magazine, I got to write a number of All-American Lodge stories. The idea of an All-American Lodge, it's something that I think is subjective, that the Elks, the organization, out of necessity has made objective. There's a number of different criteria, and lodges check boxes, and that's how they compete to win this title. The lodges that I wrote about when I was at the magazine were all excellent lodges. I don't mean to diminish that. But these 4 lodges that I wrote about in the blog series, I don't know which boxes they've checked or how they fared in the All-American Lodge contest, but they definitely passed the eye test, and subjectively, no question, they're All-American Lodges.
Right.
And when this pandemic is over, people are going to remember who was there for them, whether that's members who were feeling lonely and found connections through lodge events on Zoom or from a phone call from someone they hadn't talked to in a long time, or members of the community who need some help and need a hand up and are getting that from the Elks right now. They're going to remember, and that will benefit the Elks down the road, no question.
Absolutely.
There's also, I mean, certainly the turbulent summer we had with all of the unrest after the George Floyd murder. piled on these months of isolation. It was exhausting for people. Um,
Absolutely.
but amid that, the Elks were doing wonderful work thanks to our SIP grants. At that point, the gratitude grants had already been out since April 1st.
Right.
We had more flexible guidelines to encourage donations so that lodges could serve their communities passively and safely. And we wanted to share those stories so that we were providing our social media feed was a source of good news.
Right. Of hope and good news. And
Right.
from that, Elks Always Care came about.
Right. Elks Always Care. We have, at that point, I think that was June when all that was going down, and Spotlight grants were just about to roll out on July 1st. Beacon grants came along on August 1st. And at this point, Elks Lodges have contributed millions and millions of dollars in SIP grants to provide pandemic relief, mostly by supporting food pantries and other hunger programs.
Yeah, I think I've said before on the show that I review every one of the approved grants. So, I do that every week. And I was actually just telling my husband yesterday, because he was talking about food pantries. And I said, we've given out millions and millions of dollars through our grants across the country to food banks. And he's like, that's amazing. He's like, I love when you tell me these stories. He's like, the Elks really, really are making such a difference. And they have been through this whole thing. And I'm like, you know what? It warms my heart so much to think of these stories and to think that lodges have been able to say, you know what, we're not able to do what we usually do, but we're going to do this year. Food banks need us, food pantries need us, people need us, and we're going to, meet those needs. And we've awarded more grants this year than, ever imaginable. And we're going to exceed those numbers. We're going to break records, I know, by the December 31st application deadline.
Our country, this is the whole world really is going through this crisis, a crisis like we haven't seen in years. And the Elks have stepped up, and they have answered the summons of the trumpet during this crisis, and are serving their communities. And we are so glad that we are able to be a part of that through our.
Right.
Of course, in May, word finally came down that the convention in Baltimore would be canceled. And so we decided, if the mountain will not come to Muhammad, then Muhammad must go to the mountain. And thus was born the summer series. We tried to share the convention experience with you in your own homes. We shared interviews with our top 2 scholarship winners. Normally they would give speeches at convention. We sat down with outgoing Grand Exalted Ruler Bob Dutzman and incoming Grand Paul Ryan. We even had one of our convention style seminars on social media that was available through the summer series, and a few other programs as well. It was a lot like this, except much glissier production. So for me, those are some of the highlights from 2020. Anything, Debbie, that you feel we haven't touched on?
I don't. I just think, like I've said, and I say all the time, the mission continued, right? Despite the world coming to what seemed like an end in March. We've all adapted, and we're ready to take on 2021 with new hope. I was listening to the story about the vaccines rolling out across the country, starting Monday, so that there is hope. Healthcare workers are feeling hope. People are starting to feel that hope. We'll continue with our mask wearing and social distancing for a while, but, toward the end of 2021, I think we're going to come out of this so much stronger because we've learned so much, and we've learned how resilient we are.
Yeah, and it's, who's to say at this point how much longer this goes on? Is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? Is it 9 months?
Yeah.
But having been at this now for 9 months, I feel like I can do another 9 on my head at this point. I mean, we're so close to the finish line. And we just need to hunker down, get through this, continue serving the way we're serving, continue putting enough grant money to work. And there's still, this will air on the 23rd. So you'll have 8 days to apply for and get any of the ENF grants that you haven't gotten already, and put those to work in your communities. And as I said, once this is over, our communities, our members are going to remember who was there for them.
Right.
Okay. Well, just a reminder to comment below. Tell us what your favorite Christmas present was, or maybe what you're hoping to get this year, with the hashtag ENF Midday. If you've liked this episode, give us a thumbs up. If you want to be a Grinch, thumbs down. Either way, share it far and wide. Make it your Christmas present to the world. Share this episode so that everybody has a chance to see it. If you're not already a subscriber to our YouTube channel, hit that button, tap the bell, so you'll be notified every time we post new content, like Hoop Shooting the Breeze once a month, or 20 for 20 every other week, or this program every other week. And one day we'll get back to our regularly scheduled content like Grittios and leadership weekends, scholar service trips. But until then, thanks so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful Christmas and New Year, and we will see you in 2021.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.